Heads Up is a game of big decisions. One move can be the difference between going forward and going home. At the National Heads Up Poker Championship, every hand could be your last, so there's no holding back.
You're so intensely involved in every single hand.
It's just one-on-one.
Kind of like a boxer, one match at a time.
In poker, we all have our egos, and there were sick people doing sick things.
Some of these guys are going to get punched. What's going to happen?
So I'm going to come out really aggressive.
I'm not intimidated by anybody.
Got to kill or get killed.
It's all about the bragging rights.
The conclusion of the first round at the National Heads Up Poker Championship begins now.
You think you're taking my money, you better watch your step. Now when I come to play, you can be sure that I don't mess around. Now if you still think that you got the luck, come on, bring it on, heads up. If you think you can beat me one-on-one, come on, bring it on, heads up.
From the heart of the Las Vegas Strip, Caesars Palace, the home of champions. It's the National Heads Up Poker Championship presented by Outback Steakhouse. Hi and welcome. I'm Matt Vasgersian alongside Gabe Kaplan. It's poker's version of March Madness, bracket mayhem going on inside Caesars Palace, where elite players like Eric Lindgren, Gus Hansen, and Daniel Negreanu are facing off in a single elimination showdown for $500,000. Let's get right to the first round action here in the Spades bracket. At our featured table, a familiar face, actor James Woods, a legit big-time poker force. He's pitted against one of the world's top young players, Scott Fishman.
And James Woods is going to raise it up to 600 here with an ace-5 offsuit. Scott Fishman's got ace-queen. He's just going to call.
Flop is 9-8-4.
Neither player has flopped a pair. Scott Fishman checks.
Check.
And James Woods will check.
Oh, he almost looked like he was going to bet. You might have won the pot there if you bet.
Turns a deuce of diamonds.
Gives James Woods an inside straight draw.
Fishman checks. And once again, James Woods will check.
Definitely would have won if he bet there.
The river pairs queens for Scott Fishman. He bets out 600.
No raise.
And James Woods is going to try to bluff and raise here.
I'm sorry, 1,700.
James Woods waited till Scott Fishman made a pair of queens and he decided to bluff. But it's a pretty good bluff because there's a flush out there. And Scott Fishman's got to be thinking, what's James Woods raising with here? He wouldn't raise me with the next best hand to mine, King Queen. He knows James Woods would just call with King Queen. So it's pretty much either a bluff or a better hand. And he calls.
Ace high. Nice
Great call by Scott Fishman.
So the second annual Heads Up Poker Championship is underway. This is a field as distinguished as it is diverse. Bracelet winners, cash game stars. Once again, the most decorated group in poker. And with a field this deep, Gabe, are there favorites?
Well, according to the odds makers, Daniel Negreanu and Johnny Chan are the favorites. Anybody can win this tournament. There are some players who have a little more heads-up, no-limit experience, but whoever catches that right card at the right time is going to win this tournament.
So with that, let's take a look at the field where the clubs and diamonds brackets have completed round one. We now focus on the spades bracket where 8 matches are currently underway with a number of big-name players in action. And we head back to our featured table now, where you see James Woods, who last year in the first round was in a match he won't soon forget.
James Woods has Hall of Famer Johnny Chan on the verge of elimination. Only a queen or a heart can save him.
My match with Johnny Chan last year was a lifetime of poker in 3 hours.
It was an honor to play with James Wood. I mean, he's a big movie star.
Poker is the gestalt of war, played out with clay chips and plastic cards.
He did me one good play when I had ace-king, he had ace-jacks, and he bluffed me out of that pot.
I decided the first time he went in big, on an ace-king kind of hand that I would just push all in without thinking. And I did. And that kind of put him on tilt a little bit.
Last year, that was the only strategy he could have come up with.
James Woods needs a 9 or an ace that isn't a heart.
Turns an ace of clubs, and James has made it straight. Queen of hearts.
Unbelievable.
And of course, if the Queen of Hearts hadn't come out on that one hand, I actually would have eliminated him. He was just a great competitor and a really, really decent and honorable man.
Truly one of the great matches of last year's tournament, and Woods has another tough first-round draw this year in Scott Fishman.
I don't know what it is, but James Woods looks a lot younger this year, doesn't he? Must be living right.
Go ahead.
Also, Gestalt. You don't hear that a lot at the poker table. You hear a few Gesundheits, but not too many people saying Gestalt.
Meanwhile, James has a pair of kings after the flop.
And he's checked them, and Scott Fishman checks.
Turn is a jack of clubs.
And Scott Fishman now has made a pair of jacks. Maybe that check by James is going to pay off.
Woods bets 800.
Scott's got to be tempted to call here.
And Fishman does indeed call. Rivers a 10 of spades and 2 pair for James Woods.
James has made a real quality hand here. He's got kings and 10s. And he bets 1,200. That's a very good bet. He bet 800 on the turn. He's only betting 1,200 here. He wants a call.
King 4.
I know you're setting me up when you ask that. So I have King 4.
King 4 or is it Jack?
Also, James bluffed the last hand.
King 10?
And that's why Scott Fishman calls him.
King 10's good, I think. But
Fishman calls him and loses as we're underway at Caesars Palace. More right after this.
Caesars Palace recently unveiled their newest poker facility, and like everything else Caesars, they left nothing to be desired.
The room is awesome. You sort of like, you go past the sports book and there's this little corridor, and then you walk down this little hall. It's almost got the feel of like a private club. And then you walk in and it's just like huge.
I've been lucky at Caesars. I played the Tournament of Champions here and finished 3rd. Felt like I should have finished higher than that.
Aside from that, you have the tournament room right next to it. That's the only poker room in Las Vegas that actually has a tournament room right next to the poker room.
Vegas is all about the best of the best. So the next time you're in town, you've got to stop by Caesars.
And there you see one of the 2 Caesars Palace qualifiers in this year's event, Stephen Glasner, who has drawn a very difficult first-round opponent in Eric E-Dog Lindgren.
I got it
back. It would be a great story if Glasner can move along in the tournament. Just finished military service and recently returned from Iraq. On King 3 offsuit he calls. Suited King 8 for Lindgren. And he will check. Flop comes 8 ace king.
Great flop for Eric Lindgren. He's flopped kings and 8s, and Stephen Glasner's flopped a pair of kings.